All right, let's unpack this. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something that at first glance might seem incredibly specific, almost, well, mundane, really, a replacement power supply. Yeah, no, you're probably thinking, oh, power supply. Seriously. But trust me on this one. Our sources today, mainly a product page for this specific item and a bit of digging into the company behind it, they show how this small component is actually, well, it can be the unsung hero, or maybe even the Achilles heel for some really high-tech AV systems. So our mission really is to figure out why. Why does a simple, say, $30 part matter so much when you're talking about AV gear worth thousands? It's about finding those hidden links.
It really is fascinating, like you said, how one single component, something that seems so basic, a power supply, is completely foundational, not just for one gadget, but for a whole ecosystem of pretty sophisticated AV equipment. It really brings up a key question, especially if you're designing systems or managing infrastructure. What exactly does this little thing power? And why is that connection so critical? It's easy to just ignore the bits that make things work, right? Until they don't, that your fancy tech is just, well, a paperweight.
Exactly. A very expensive paperweight. And the Star today, it really embodies this whole paradox. It's the replacement power supply for Fixed 4x4, 8x8, 8x9, and 16x16 matrix switches. It even has its own part number, FXPS. Looking at the source, it's currently listed at, $30, and it's in stock, which is good news for someone, again. It looks like any other power brick, really. But the context, that's what matters here. This isn't just some generic adapter you find lying around.
No, definitely not. And that purpose-built part is key. This specific supply, the FXPS, it's engineered just for HDTV Supply's own Fixed matrix switches. And these aren't, the little HDMI splitters you grab off Amazon for your TV at home. We're talking about professional gear here. Stuff like the HDTV 4K 604x4, the HDTV AM HM808, HDTV X800E, and even the really big systems like the HDTV FS 1600E or that HDTV FAFX 1500E K5. Big stuff.
Okay, so those numbers 4x4, 8x8, 16x16, what do they actually mean in practical terms?
Right. So for anyone not deep in the AV world, those numbers tell you about inputs and outputs. A 4x4 matrix switch, that means it can take signals from 4 different sources, maybe a Blu-ray, a laptop, a camera feed, a cable box, whatever. And it can send any of those sources to any of 4 different displays or zones. Think maybe a conference room with a few screens,
right,
or even a small video wall setup.
Okay, got it.
And a 16x16, well, that's just scaling it way up. 16 sources to 16 destinations. Imagine managing the video feeds in a broadcast studio or a large university lecture hall, or maybe even like a command center. These switches, they're basically the traffic cops for all the video and audio signals, the central nervous system, really.
So if the switch is a nervous system, this little $30 power supply, it's literally the lifeblood keeping it all going.
Exactly. Without that stable power from the FXPS, the whole complex routing system just stops. Dead.
Which makes you wonder, why not just build the power supply right into the main unit? Seems simpler.
That's a good question. There are actually a few solid engineering reasons for external supplies. First, heat. Power supplies generate heat, and keeping that outside the main box helps protect the sensitive electronics inside the switch. Better reliability long term. Second, serviceability. If the power supply fails, and they sometimes do, you just swap out this cheap external brick. Quick, easy, minimal downtime. You don't have to pull the whole expensive matrix switch out of the rack and send it off for repair. That's huge in a professional setting. It also means the main unit can often be smaller and lighter.
Okay, that makes sense. Downtime is the enemy.
Precisely. And there's another detail on the product page that mentions this. Fixed HDMI is TAA compliant. Now, that might sound like jargon, but for certain buyers, especially government or some large corporations, it's really important. TAA, the Trade Agreements Act, basically means the product has to be made or significantly transformed to the U.S. or a specific list of partner countries. It's not just red tape. It often points to a more traceable, potentially more secure supply chain, which matters a lot when you're talking about critical infrastructure.
Right, connecting sourcing rules to actual reliability and security. That's interesting. Okay, so we know this power supply is critical for these complex switches. What about the company making it? HDTV Supply. This is where it connects to a much bigger picture, I think. This isn't some random factory churning out parts. HDTV Supply, according to the sources, they've been around a while. A 24-year global home for audio and video products. Their certification date, March 2nd, 2003. Wow. And the copyright notice runs 2002-2025. So yeah, real staying power in tech, which isn't easy. Plus, they're rated as an exceptional top quality store by Google Shopping. What does that kind of history actually signal to someone buying, even just a $30 part from them?
It signals a lot, actually. That 24-year global home line, it's more than just marketing speak. It means this company has seen massive shifts in technology, analog to digital, SD to HD to 4K, all of it. Surviving and thriving that long suggests they know their stuff, they adapt, and they understand what their customers, especially professional ones, need. They're not just box shifters. They seem positioned as solutions providers. Look at their own brands like WolfPack and WolfPad. Those suggest integrated systems, not just isolated components.
WolfPack. Yeah, I saw that name mentioned.
Right, and their status as an HDBasie.org approved adopter. That's a big deal in the Pro AV space. HDTV, it's the standard for sending uncompressed HD video, audio, Ethernet, control, even power over a single network cable for long distances. Being an approved adopter means they're committed to that standard, ensuring their gear plays nicely with other HD-based equipment. It applies a certain level of engineering rigor. You'd expect that commitment to quality to filter down, even something seemingly simple like the fixed PS power supply. Reliability is paramount in these systems.
That makes sense. It paints a picture of a company building an ecosystem where every part matters. What about that phone number they list? Call 833-WOLFPACK for help. That seems quite prominent.
Oh, absolutely. In the pro world, support is non-negotiable. Think about it. What happens if the video wall at a major event goes dark? Or the system controlling a university's lecture capture fails mid-semester? Downtime costs serious money, impacts reputation, disrupts operations. That WolfPack number isn't just customer service. It implies expert support. People who understand these complex systems and can help you troubleshoot quickly. It shows they stand behind their products long-term. And that expectation of reliability has to include the power supply keeping it all alive. They're selling uptime, peace of mind.
Okay, so let's tie this together. Why should you, listening right now, care about this $30 power supply? Well, consider this. Our little thick PS here, it powers matrix switches that are just one part of these really sophisticated and frankly really expensive setups. This is where that price point paradox really hits home. What kind of systems are we actually talking about? The product page itself lists some related products. That gives us a clue about the scale of investment here. For instance, there's an Aurora DTX 1616D 16x16 Dante DSP, price $5,544. Ouch. Then an NTI Unimi X8 8x8 8x8 VGA USB KVM matrix switch for $5,915. And how about an NTI SM16X16 HD 4K 18 Gbps HDMI video matrix switch? That one's $7,270. We even saw another replacement power supply listed for an Aurora Multimedia VTune Pro going for $99.90. That's over 3 times our fixed PS. These are clearly not consumer toys.
Not at all.
Yeah.
And this really hammers home that idea of a single point of failure.
Yeah.
When you have gear costing thousands, sometimes tens of thousands of dollars in a complete system, the reliability of that $30 power supply, it's suddenly critical, absolutely paramount. A failure there doesn't just mean the power supply broke. It means the whole multi-$1,000 system it powers is down. Let's look at those examples you pulled.
Yeah, break those down for us.
Okay, that Aurora DTX 1616D. The Dante part means it handles high-quality audio over standard networks. Very flexible, very common in live sound, broadcast, big venues. DSP is digital signal processing, mixing, effects, routing audio. So imagine a big concert, or maybe a crucial corporate event, if the power supply for that unit fails. Silence, complete audio blackout. That's catastrophic for the event.
Wow.
Then the NTI UnimuX KVM switch. KVM is keyboard, video, mouse. These let one person control many computers. Think server rooms, data centers, security control rooms. If the power supply for that KVM matrix dies, suddenly your operator might lose control over multiple critical servers or security feeds. That's not just annoying. It could be a major operational or security crisis depending on the context.
And that 4K HDMI matrix, the expensive one.
Right, the NTI SM16X16 HD 4K. That's all about pristine, high-bandwidth 4K video distribution. Think high-end boardrooms, luxury retail displays, medical imaging, broadcast control rooms. If its power supply fails, blank screens, glitching video across potentially 16 different high-resolution displays. Imagine that happening during a live broadcast feed going out to millions. The financial and reputational fallout would be immense.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to be the person responsible for cheaping out on the power supply in that scenario.
Exactly. And that comparison to the $99.90 Aurora power supply is interesting too. It doesn't necessarily mean it's better quality than the $30 FT's PS. It likely just means the Aurora system it powers has different needs. Maybe higher wattage, more complex power filtering, something specific that costs more to implement reliably. It highlights that these external supplies, while cheaper than the main unit, are still specifically engineered for their task. The challenge is making them both affordable and rock-solid reliable, because the stakes are so high.
It really flips the perspective, doesn't it? It's not about the price of the part itself, but the cost of failure for the whole system it supports. Suddenly, $30 for a reliable, TAA-compliant manufacturer spec power supply seems like incredibly cheap insurance.
It absolutely is. It underscores that value isn't always proportional to the price tag. It's about the role a component plays. When you're managing these complex AV systems, you're investing in continuous, reliable operation. And often it's these small foundational pieces, like the VFPS, that really determine if that investment delivers or if it becomes a major headache.
So, what really stands out here, wrapping this up, is how this seemingly tiny utilitarian thing, a replacement power supply, holds such massive importance, hidden importance mostly. It's not just about the $30 cost of the part, is it? It's about the thousands, maybe tens of thousands, invested in the system it keeps running. It really is a perfect example. The smallest cog can absolutely be the most critical piece for the entire machine. It keeps the whole expensive setup doing what it's supposed to do.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? When you think about our world now, so interconnected, so automated, what other invisible parts, these components we never really see or think about, are quietly holding up the critical systems we depend on every single day? From the tiny processors in our smart devices to maybe the obscure software library underpinning a financial system or the physical infrastructure like undersea cables. How much do we really know about these fundamental pieces that make everything else work? It's kind of fascinating and maybe a little scary to think that the most vital parts are often the ones completely out of sight. Until, of course,